How many people do we have attending today or registered?
Oh, goodness. I think it was somewhere in the area of 70. I think we only have 33 in the waiting room right now, though.
Okay, just curious.
Did anybody see in a note about the recording? Let's see here. It looks like it should be recording. Yep. I'm going to go ahead and admit when you're ready.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today to learn more about Licensee, our online self-guided license application platform that launched just last Monday on May 16th. I'm Jennifer Garrett. I'm the Director of Public Affairs for the Department of Safety and Professional Services, and I'll be helping with the session today. I want to start with introductions. Dan Harrith is here. He's our Assistant Deputy Secretary, and he's our Master of Ceremonies. I'll be handing things over to him in just a moment. Also with us is Sachin Raj, our technical expert from our vendor MTX. And then behind the scenes, who you can't see, is Kimberly Wood, and she'll be making sure that everything runs smoothly for the session. Before we start, I want to go through a few orders of business so you know how we're going to work things today. First of all of the attendees will be muted throughout the entire session. Anyone with a question should type it into the chat and direct it to me. Again, my name is Jennifer Garrett. I might miss questions that are not directed to me, so be sure to direct them to me. Our team behind the scenes will try to forward things, but your best bet is to use the chat to direct questions to me. Then I'll triage those questions and field them to Dan, and if it's very technical, to Sachin. If there are questions we don't get to or can't answer, we'll include that in some of our meeting follow-up. And that includes things that we post on our website and things that we communicate via our email list that we've been compiling. You can sign up for that email list by going to our website, dsps.wi.gov, and following the licensee links. And you can sign up for emails, and there you'll find a lot of other resources too, including user guides and a communications kit if you want to communicate directly with some of your constituents on updates to licensee. Then we are, as you may have noticed, we do have a sign language interpreter here, and we will be captioning the meeting so that it is accessible as possible. And my script keeps disappearing. We are recording the session so that we'll have it available on the website later as well. Now, before I turn things over to Dan, Kimberly is going to play a quick video for us, and then Dan will take things from there. Thank you.
This is your future. It's where you want to be and where you want to build your career. You have done the hardest part. Now it's time to put your education and skills to work. You're ready to help keep individuals, families, and communities healthy, happy, and safe. There's just one more step: your license. The Wisconsin Department of Safety and Professional Services is pleased to present Licensee, our online self-guided application system that makes applying for your license as easy as possible. With Licensee, you'll be on your way to joining the workforce and making a difference for the people of Wisconsin. You can create an account, access, complete, and submit an application, review and manage your application and account, and find additional resources and support. Your future is at your fingertips. Visit licensee.wisconsin.gov today and continue your journey to becoming a licensed professional.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Jen Garrett mentioned earlier, my name is Dan Harrith. I'm the Assistant Deputy Secretary with the Wisconsin Department of Safety and Professional Services. We are all so excited that you can join us today and excited for the interest in the new platform. I wanted to start with a little bit of history first. Our department was born of a merger in 2011 out of the parts of 2 departments, and it brought with it a patchwork of paper processes and early software systems, many of which are from the last century and still required step-by-step manual intervention from our staff. You know, as we all know, the pandemic has impacted us both in large ways and small. And as our department worked diligently to meet needs during the pandemic, one thing became very clear, that in order to meet the increasing demand of our licensed occupations, and specifically our healthcare occupations, which have been working to recover from the pandemic, we need to implement a solution that was designed for this century. That's why we partnered with MTX and Salesforce to implement a public sector solution built on private sector know-how. During development, the guiding principle was, how can we empower our customers, our applicants, to drive their process forward? We wanted to create ownership over the process for our applicants. That's why every step of the process was built to maximize their ability to control the process and move through the process. Today, you will see a video which follows a fictional applicant, Arthur Dent, through the license application process. Arthur is applying for an advanced practice nurse prescriber license. While some of the requirements may differ from license to license, the process and experience should feel very similar. With that, I'd like to invite Kim from our staff to play the demo, after which there will be an opportunity for some Q&A, as Jen mentioned earlier. So with that, I'll turn it over to Kim. Thanks.
All right, so upon landing on this homepage, Arthur is going to need to initially register for an account so that he's able to complete and submit his application. So to do that, we'll click on this register for an account button, and that's going to open up a registration form.
I don't know
if it's just me,
but the wrong
Arthur would provide.
is showing at the moment.
Yeah, I think they're looking at the wrong screen.
My apologies, Dan. Give me 1 second. Let me fix that.
All right, on this homepage, Arthur is going to need to initially register for an account so that he's able to complete and submit his application. So to do that, we'll click on this register for an account button, and that's going to open up a registration form. On that registration form, Arthur would provide things like his first name, last name, email address, set up a password, date of birth, social, his home address, as well as a different mailing address if needed, as well as his phone number. When I click this register button, there are a few things that a couple things that happen. The first thing that's going to happen is I'm going to receive an email from the system notifying me that I've registered for the licensee portal and giving me a link to be able to go and log in on that portal. Along with that, the application will sign me in and bring me to this landing page for applicants. So this is the first page that's seen after an applicant logs into the portal. Once that registration process is completed, we're really at that point ready to begin the application process. And again, Arthur's looking to apply for that advanced practice nurse prescriber license. So I can see I have a question here: what license can we help you apply for today? And a drop down filled with license types. So in this instance, I'm going to choose advanced practice nurse prescriber and click next. The very first screen in the application flow is really one where we're asking which application method are we going to be using to apply for this license. So for today's demo, I'm going to be selecting licensure by examination. And once I'm ready to begin my application, I can then use and click on the next button. which would open up an application flow and really get me into the application proper. Landing on the application flow, the very first step that we run into is our instruction screen with some brief instructions about what needs to be provided and how to complete this application. We can move through to the next step of the application by using the next button. And that's going to bring me to the personal information step of the application. So here we're collecting demographic information, validating that we have the right name, the right date of birth, ethnicity, gender. Also, we have our contact information. And as you can see, that is editable so that if they need to update that information via this application intake flow, they can certainly do that by updating their phone number or changing their home or even changing their mailing address as well. After the user has input all of that information, we have some additional questions based on the advanced practice nurse prescriber, asking whether we've been licensed, what's our primary state of residence, do we currently hold a registered nurse license, and what are our current certifications. So we'll click Save and Next, and that's going to take us to the next step of the application, which is going to be our school information. And as you can see, ahead of time, I've already added in the 2 schools that our applicant is going to be listing. When I click on this Add School button, it's going to bring up a modal looking just like this. It's going to require me to fill in all of these fields before clicking Done to save that school information. So the school name, the street, the city, the state, the degree, and the graduation date are all required. If someone accidentally clicks this in error, they can use the little X here in the upper right-hand corner to cancel out of that selection. Or if they update the information and click Done, it's going to edit the information in this table. We'll go ahead and click Save and Next here and jump into the specialty step. On the specialty step of the application, I'm able to indicate that I'm certified, in this case, as a nurse practitioner, the subspecialties of adult and acute care. If I choose certified registered nurse anesthetist or certified nurse midwife, those do not have those subspecialties, whereas nurse practitioner and clinical nurse specialists do. So you can see those are displayed and required based on that requirement. All right, we'll click Save and Next here to jump to our veterans fee waiver step. And you're going to see this functionality quite a bit over the next few steps. So I'll just kind of use this step as an example to talk through it. Here we have 3 questions. If you qualify, you're requesting a waiver of your initial credentialing fee. Now, in this case, I've answered no. However, if I were to respond with a yes, we would have an additional question requesting that we input that WDVA voucher code number into this field, and you can see that it's required. You're going to see this a lot in the declaration, an additional declaration step as well. Just wanted to kind of call it out here. So we'll go ahead and choose no there. We'll go ahead and use the Save and Next button to jump to our license history step. In our license history step, we're asked first to indicate any states in which we've been licensed. Now, in this example, this applicant has been licensed in Wisconsin, so I do have that one checked. I do have a none option if needed, but otherwise I can indicate as many states as I've been licensed in. Below that, we are able to identify the states in which we've been licensed by exam. And of course, in this case, where Wisconsin is the only state that I've been licensed in, I'm also going to indicate Wisconsin is where I've been licensed by exam. So click Save and Next here. That's going to take us into our first step of declarations. Our declaration step have a series of questions that we have to respond to. With each of those questions, if we indicate yes to any of them, typically we'll have a field and we'll be asked to share details about that response. In a couple of cases, we do have just instructions for additional forms that need to be submitted if responding yes to this question. All right, so I'm going to use the Save and Next button again. We're going to move now to our additional declarations. For our additional declarations, we have some definitions that are laid out in the top half of the screen. And so we have some very descriptive definitions of medical condition, chemical substances, illegal use of controlled and dangerous substances, and then some questions relating to those definitions. You'll notice with question number 11, I currently have it indicated with no. If I were to say yes, I am both required to explain as well as to respond to questions 12 and 13. Whereas if I click no, I'm not required to respond to those additional questions. So we'll go ahead and click Save and Next. Moving into our supporting document step. So here we can see we have a list of documents that could be required. We have some of those marked as absolutely required in all cases. I have gone ahead and uploaded some sample documents there. In order to upload a document, I can use one of these upload buttons. That's going to give me some information about the file size, what kind of files, and also let me know that multiple files can be uploaded. For example, here, I'll click on Upload, and we will grab a file to be uploaded. And once that file is uploaded, I can click Close, and you can see now that file has been added to this list. In this instance, this is not the right file. I've made a mistake here, so I need to remove this, and I can do so using the trash can or delete icon here next to that supporting document.
Dan, we're to our transition step.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I do like to pause the video here and just provide a little bit of context. So the next section that you'll see is for third-party supporting documentation. And depending on the type of application that you're submitting, you may have a series of documents that are required to come directly from third parties. And so the next section will describe the process for those third parties to submit the documentation. What the video doesn't show is the process for the applicant. And so I did want to indicate that the applicant will see information related to what type of documentation is required to come from those third parties. Once they download that documentation, it will provide an area for the applicant to fill out some information, specifically the application ID number. And then when they provide that information to the third parties, that application ID number will be what the third parties use to queue in and directly associate the information they're providing with your application. That will allow the applicant in real time to know when documentation from their third-party supporting entities has been uploaded. So with that, let's continue the video.
The instructions that are given to the third parties, you're going to have instructions to come to the licensee portal, and they don't need to register or anything like that. They'll go to this third-party document upload. And so they're asked to search for an application number, and on that form, the applicant will be instructed to fill out this application ID. So this application number is going to be how the third party references what documents they're submitting or what application they're submitting for. So we'll go ahead and take that individual application ID and paste it into the application number and search. And so that's going to show us what profession it is that's being applied for, as well as that application number. Once I have confirmed that, yes, this is the correct application that I'm trying to provide documentation for, I can use the select button. And now you can see there's a list of different documents that I can provide, which may or may not be coming from the same party. And so if I needed to provide this certification of master's or doctoral degree, I would use the upload button, which gives me our upload modal, and I would find a document to upload on my computer. Once it's uploaded, and then at this point, I can close the window. I don't really need to continue to stay here or save anything. At this point, when we view this application internally, we will see that that document has now been uploaded. So here is the certification or master's doctoral degree, and this is that file that I just uploaded. All right, so once we've uploaded all of our supporting documents that are required, we would then be able to use the Save and Next button, which would bring us to our attestation step. So here, Arthur would be able to indicate that he is a citizen or national of the United States, as well as provide his digital signature after reviewing all of the information and agreeing to sign. All right, so we'll use the Save and Next button here to enter our final step of the application flow, which is our payment step. From here, we're shown a table of what are the fees that are currently being charged, as well as some optional choices that we can make, including ordering a wall certificate or an expedited fee. In this instance, we'll just keep the base fees as the amount, and you can see here, it gives us a total amount at the bottom to be paid is $132. Now, in order to pay and submit this pay for and submit this application, I'm going to use this Pay and Submit button. All right, so when I click on the Pay and Submit step here, I'm going to be taken out of licensee for a moment and into the payment gateway. And so to complete my payment here, it does pull over information about the from the applicant's profile information is brought over. The phone number and email address does have to be typed, and then we can choose our payment method. We can take ACH debit as well as credit and debit cards. Once they've input all the information, I use the Continue button to be shown a review step. Select the right state here. They're brought to a review step where they're able to review what is going to be charged and the rest of the information that's been provided, and then they can use the Confirm button to make that payment. They're provided with their confirmation number, and then once they click Continue, they'll be brought back into licensee and be displayed a success message there as well, letting us know that the payment's been received and the application has been successfully submitted. Along with that, I'm going to get a couple of other notifications. So one notification is going to be a confirmation that my application has been submitted, and the other is going to be a receipt from the system telling me about that payment. Once all applicant supplied documentation and third-party supplied documentation has been submitted, the application will be reviewed and hopefully approved. Once approved, licensees will then be able to log back into the licensee portal and print their license certificate by clicking on My Approved Licenses, using the Action button next to the license for which they would like to download or print a certificate, and then using the View Certificate command. All we need to do is to click Download next to the type of certificate that we would like to download and print, and that certificate will then be displayed and can either be downloaded, printed, or both.
So Dan, we do have some questions that have come in. Do you have anything you want to say before we start, or should I just start with those?
I think there appears to be a couple of questions that came directly to me, and so and it looks like they're from the same person, so I can try and answer those. The first question is the application number the only way to find an applicant in the system? And I believe that's the case, but I also want to invite our technical expert to verify that for me.
Thanks, Dan. I'm thinking we are talking about the third party, and for a third party, yes, they will be, the applicant needs to communicate the application number to the third party, and that number is what the third party needs to type in and search for the applicant. That is the only number that they can search with.
And part of the reason for that is because obviously when we have multiple applicants across the professions with the same name, that it could cause confusion if we didn't have you know, a different identifier that was unique to the individual. You know, in terms of I think the second question I saw was relative to the process of doing multiple applications. So if you work for possibly a university or a college, you know, I think with this process, we needed to identify a balancing act. You know, currently when we do batch processes, it's a manual process for our staff, and candidly, staffing has been a longstanding issue for the agency. We have identified that creating a batch process would be preferable, and so we are in the process of evaluating that for future releases.
Okay, Dan, I'm going to hop in with questions, but just a reminder to everyone to pose the questions to me so that I can review them and then present them to Dan. Sometimes some of the questions are repetitive or similar, and so I can kind of package them together for him and he can focus on the answers. So thank you for doing that. I'll start with one about chiropractic technicians. The person is asking if you already have that license, but you're adding a modality, how do you do that right now?
Yeah, you should apply in the existing process with the paper application to add that modality. We will be transitioning all existing licenses into the new system for healthcare license holders over the next couple of months. But currently, since your existing license is in our old system, you'll want to use that existing application form. I will say that there was a bit of confusion last week. Inadvertently, staff had pulled down all of the application documents and not just the primary application documents. And so we have since corrected that, and the sort of add-on specialties, if you will, for existing license holders are back up on the website.
This is similar. If I already have an RN license but would like to apply for a compact license or upgrade my license to a compact license, is that through the existing paper forms, or can I do that in licensee?
If it is an upgrade to a compact, it should be the paper forms. If you are talking about upgrading it to an APNP license, or another sort of advanced nursing license that would come with a new license number, you should apply in the new system.
And then someone was asking whether there's a way for people to experiment with the system, say they work with students or they help new hires. Is there like a dummy account or profile that they can use to get the hang of licensee and then assist their individual stakeholders?
Not to my knowledge. At this point, I would direct folks to our main licensee information page, which has a number of FAQ documents as well as walkthroughs and videos. But that's certainly a good suggestion, and I'd ask that our technical expert log that one to see if that's possible.
Then how can a third party check an applicant's status? Right now, for example, if a registered nurse applicant fails the NCLEX exam, there's a statement about that. And can third parties monitor those things in the new system?
Yeah, for the third party, or rather the application status lookup, will remain active for license applications that came in prior to the new system. We are in the process of releasing the lookup for the new system. That'll come over the next couple of months. That being said, in terms of identifying the status once the license is approved or denied, that will be available in the existing, so not the application lookup, existing application lookup that the department has, but it'll be available in the license lookup tool that the department has.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Is there a bulk processing option so that if I work for an institution or an educational institution, I have dozens of students, can I upload or submit all of those documents at once, or do I have to do them applicant by applicant?
Currently, and that's what I was referencing a little bit earlier, but currently that is an individual applicant by applicant process. We are evaluating the ability to create a batch process.
As an employer, will we still be able to pull the provider's license directly from the DSPS website?
Yes, we have for the time being, while we transition all licenses into the new system, the existing license lookup tool will be reflective of both licenses from the old system as well as licenses that are currently being processed in the new system.
If I applied in the previous system, but none of my materials have been reviewed yet, should I just start over in licensee?
We would encourage you to continue along the path of the existing system. Having multiple applications for an individual could create confusion and cause for some delays. And but certainly feel free to check your status on the application status lookup. Again, I know sometimes folks get a little bit confused. It's completely separate from our license lookup, is the application status lookup. And I know we are providing contact information at the end of this session, and we can further assist you with that.
If students started applying in OLAS, say this month, but they're not graduating until December, will those applications remain active in OLAS that whole time, or what should those individuals do?
So no application should have come into OLAS this month. We, since the beginning of this month, have been had blacked out new applications for our health professions in OLAS, and then they should have applied on May 16th. I would encourage them to apply in the new system.
Okay, and then there's some specific questions. I don't know if we can answer these or not. They have to do with nursing. For the third-party document upload, why are there no school codes?
Yeah, well, we might have to take that one back. I'm not exactly certain what that's referencing.
Okay. As a third party, do I need to register in licensee, or do I just use the information that students provide to upload their documents?
No registration is required, only the information provided by the student.
Let's see. So here, this question kind of gets at, Dan, what we've been talking about a little bit about students communicating their application number to third parties. So someone is asking how third parties get contacted by the system so that they can upload documents. And you can explain a little bit more, but the answer is that the students have to give the third party their application number, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. The student should make contact with the third party. At a high level, our relationship is with the applicant, and then the applicant's relationship is with these third parties that have to submit documentation. So we want to empower the student to drive that process forward.
And if applicants, or if institutions submitted proof of graduation or degree completion the way they used to complete it, but the applicants have applied in licensee, will those documents be reconciled? So say the institution emailed or mailed or faxed a stack of documents.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly will do our best, I'm sure, to reconcile, but I wouldn't count on it. I would encourage you to, for those applicants have applied in the new system, to submit them directly through the third-party portal. That'll ensure that the documents are automatically associated with that applicant, and prevent any possible delay during that reconciliation.
Okay, I'm going to go through some. I've gotten quite a few. Will licensee be used for renewals?
Eventually, yes. Currently, renewals are occurring in the old system. We are in the process of transitioning all of our health licenses into the new system, the existing license holders. And by the end of July, renewals that open after that point will occur in the new system.
Do statements of graduation count as third-party documents?
Yes, statements of graduation count as third-party documents.
Okay. Okay, and then for the chiropractic radiologic, I might have gotten the wrong technician. There's some feedback. This is more for our technical team. The person got the application number, but there wasn't a specific place to upload documents. So Sachin, I see you're shaking your head. Are you aware of this?
Is it a question from an applicant's perspective or a third party's perspective?
Third party.
Well, if the third party gets the application number from the applicant, it's actually a very simple process for the third party to upload the documents on the, like we saw in the demo, it's just a couple of clicks and then it takes the third party to a screen where they can type in the application number. And then as soon as you do that, what happens in the background is that we match the application number to the number of records we have. And then it pulls up what are the documents that the third party needs to upload. And we show only those items on the screen. And against each of those items, there will be an upload button and the third party gets to upload them.
Okay.
I'm not sure if there is confusion in that process.
Yeah, so if you've been working and trying to upload a document that you think is required and there isn't a place for it in licensee, send that to me in the chat and we will direct that to our tech team.
Yeah, and just to add to that, sorry, Jennifer, just to add to one more point to that, those number of items are specifically for, designed for profession. So depending on profession, the number of items and the exact types of items are changing. And like you said, if you see that for a specific profession, there is an item missing or an extra item added for a third party to upload, yes, please let us know. We should be able to go back to the tech team and then figure that out.
And then for documents that third parties are supplying that need to be signed, can they be signed electronically or do they have to have actual signatures? I think this is for Dan again, or if you know.
I believe our forms were converted over to an electronic PDF that allows for signature. But I would have to verify that. I know we've been making a lot of changes to the forms in preparation for this.
Okay. What if my name changes? If I start my application in the system and I change my name before I complete it?
I'll ask Sachin to weigh in here, but I believe there is a place in the portal for you to start the process of a name change. Because a license is a legal document, we do have a verification process that involves needing to document that name change. But I believe there's a spot in the portal to walk you through that.
Well, at this point, as far as I know, that you can create an account with your personal information, but in the middle of your application process, if there's a change in name, for now in this version or in this release, there's no option for you to edit as an applicant. There's no option for you to edit your information on the external portal. But what we were discussing in the past training sessions also was to be able to contact the call center, and they do have the option to pull in your records and edit your personal information. Obviously, that will be followed by all the verification that they need to do.
Okay, and then after a third party uploads a document, how can they confirm that it was received? Right now, third party, this person said that there's no confirmation sent to them that the document went through.
I'll take that to Dan. Sorry. So from an applicant's perspective, they can always go back and check the status of their application. And there are two things that an applicant can do once the application is submitted. One is to check the status of supporting documents, they can go back and check what are the documents that they uploaded in the past. And if they did not have specific documents when they originally submitted the application, they can upload more. And on top of that, they should be able to see what are the documents uploaded by the third party. So if they see that the documents that the third party has to upload are not uploaded yet, they can continue the conversation with third party and get that process moving forward.
Sachin, I'll jump in with a question. Is there, I think the person asking the question was looking for an email confirmation, which I think we've confirmed does not occur with the third party documentations. Is there a confirmation screen that appears?
Well, yes and no, because when a third party uploads a document, it shows up the name of the document, name of the file on the screen. That is sort of confirmation. Plus you get that, the progress and the done and the green check mark that notifies the third party that it's uploaded. But apart from that, no other confirmation pop-up per se, no email confirmation either.
So I think if you're looking for your own purposes to document the transaction so that you can demonstrate to your applicants that you've completed your step, I would take a screenshot of the upload page after it gives you that green check mark that the document has successfully uploaded.
Dan, a lot of these questions are getting at something that is kind of essential to the design of the system, and that I am hoping you can elaborate on this, but it was very intentional to shift a lot of the responsibility of the application to the applicant so that they would have more control over the process and more visibility on what was happening. And part of that shift means shifting some of that control away from third parties. Can you talk a little bit about that to help, since we're getting questions mostly from third parties about this change, but not from the applicants? If you could talk a little bit about the rationale for that decision.
Yeah, absolutely. As you indicated, it was very intentional to really put the power and the process in the hands of the applicant. As I alluded to earlier, our relationship and our process is directly with the applicant, and so in terms of gathering the information and making sure that all of the information provided to the department necessary to complete the application process, that also is the responsibility of the applicant. And so we wanted to make sure that at every point in the process, it was the applicant driving the process forward. And that does two things. First, it makes sure that we can on our end process information as quickly as possible when it comes to us. But the second thing it does is it makes sure that at any given point, the applicant knows where to go. So if, for instance, an applicant doesn't see a document uploaded that they think should be uploaded from a third party, they know they need to circle back with that third party who they have a relationship with. Or if they see that they've uploaded several documents and those documents have not been checked off yet, they know they need to contact the department, because then the application is in the department's hands in terms of reviewing that information. So again, it's about maximizing the information available to the applicant and putting them in control of the process.
Thanks, Dan. And then when are application materials evaluated? Do we wait until we have everything supplied and paid for, or do we evaluate as things hit the application?
Similar to now, we do process payment immediately on submittal of the application. That is something that's required of us by our financial institutions. We cannot hold payment for a period of time. That being said, it's kind of both. So there's a basic amount of information that's required as part of the application process that is required to hit that submit button and that payment button. After that point, we do our initial review, and there are a number of documents that may be required after submittal. Especially the third-party documentations. Many of those will come after they've submitted their application, because that's when the application ID number is generated. So one of the features of this system is that every time a new document or is uploaded or a change is made to the application, the staff person who owns that application is sent an email immediately after that change or that upload has happened to notify them that there's new information in the system and that it's time to check that application and review that information. And so that really for us, cutting out that window of receiving a document, uploading or manually typing in that document and then reviewing it, cutting straight to the review step is one of the great benefits of the new system for the department.
Thanks, Dan. And then can you save your application as you go before you pay and then come back and finish it later?
Absolutely. And in fact, I was looking at some information recently, and we have a number of applications that I would kind of consider in that pending status or that save status where an applicant is worked through parts of the application but hasn't yet hit that submit payment button. The key is it saves per page. So after you hit continue to the next section of the application will save at that point. So if you don't hit continue on a page, if you stop halfway through, you may lose some of the information that's been provided on that page.
This is a technical question that I haven't seen before, so I don't know if we'll have an answer for it. But if an employer uses a database web crawler for credentialing of providers to verify that they have a Wisconsin license, will they be able to use those with licensee? And we might have to get back, include this in our follow-up because I haven't encountered that question before.
Yeah, I'm going to make a note of that, Jennifer. We'll get back to that.
Okay, then let me see. Dan, we've gotten a couple more questions about renewals, but just to reiterate that renewals are coming in a later phase of implementation.
That's correct. And I think, go ahead.
Oh, no, go please.
I was just going to say, I think many of the health related renewals that are set to occur during this, during the time frame we're in here, the May, June time frame have already opened. Things like pharmacy renewals, and those are occurring currently in the old system. Like I said, by the end of July, we should be opening for renewals in the new system, but many renewal cycles aren't scheduled to occur, I think, until later in the summer or early in the fall for some of the health related professions.
If someone misspells a school name or address in their application, will that cause problems for the applicant?
I don't have a great deal of visibility directly on how staff evaluate, those minor errors in detail. I'll certainly circle back and we can figure out if that'll have an impact. I guess a question maybe for Sachin would be of the ability to edit those things either before submission or after submission.
Before submission, yes, but after submitting, you can go back and edit the information that you put on the application already. That's by design, because if the reviewer who's reviewing your application, if that person has already gone through that part of the review, we don't want to give the ability back to the applicant to keep on editing that form and then keep on repeating the review process. So once you hit submit, whatever you filled in for the application remains the same. And then for you to be able to edit that, the only way that I can think of right now is to be able to get in touch with call center, and they should be able to pass the notes.
One thing I would follow up and say is if the error is of big enough concern that it causes the reviewer to pause on the application, they will be reaching out to you. So you will have the ability to circle back directly with your reviewer to also make necessary corrections.
So if a third-party institution currently uses an OLAS account to verify statements of graduation, can they continue to use OLAS to do that instead of uploading documents in licensee?
We alluded to the answer to this earlier. For your applicants who applied in the old system, you absolutely use OLAS, continue to use OLAS for the certificates of graduation. For your applicants in the new system, we would absolutely encourage you to submit the upload to ensure that those documents are associated in the quickest possible manner with their application.
When renewals transition to licensee, will employers be able to renew on behalf of their employees like they do now, or will individual license holders have to create their own accounts and manage their own renewal?
I'm not aware of employers being able to renew on behalf of their license holders now, unless that license holders provided them with specific information in our existing system to do so. That wouldn't necessarily be the intent.
Yeah, Dan, that's the impression I get, that the applicants give their license number and their PIN number to their employer.
Oh, okay. Well, again, that wouldn't be the intent, and certainly what isn't the intent in the new system is that would cause a number of security concerns.
Okay.
No sharing Netflix passwords.
Are social security numbers included on forms that are being sent to third parties? And if so, is that necessary? The comment is that this person doesn't think that those should appear on the forms that third parties get from applicants that they have to upload.
My understanding is historically the social security number has been on the application form. I'm not aware of it being on third-party forms, but if it is, that is certainly something we can take a look at. The key for the social is that it just needs to be a part of the application process per our statutory requirements.
And Dan, there's been a couple more questions about this. Can you speak again to how putting the applicant in charge of data entry will affect processing timelines?
It should certainly aid. Right now, our staff spend approximately 15 to 20 minutes per application entering the application data into the basic system we currently have. And so that does eliminate that. Another thing that it eliminates, which is causes a great deal of confusion, is handwriting interpretation. So currently we spend a great deal of time trying to interpret handwriting that isn't clear, and causes transcription issues. The third thing is that the system is designed to prevent is it doesn't allow incomplete applications. So with the existing paper applications, we get a great deal of applications where they fail to fill out required information. And in the new system, you'll be required to fill out those fields process. So there is a great deal of time savings on a per application basis.
And then back to the maintaining of the OLAS system while things gradually transition to licensee. If someone started their application earlier this year in OLAS, but for some reason didn't graduate and are likely to graduate in December, are you suggesting, and I think this is what you said, to reapply in December upon graduation?
Yes, that's what I would suggest.
How do you fix errors in an application after it's been submitted?
You will need to contact the department either via there is a help tab in the system that you can utilize. I believe it's a web form based help tab, or you can utilize, there are a few numbers that we've posted online, both a technical call number as well as a regular call center number that can be utilized. The third thing would be is if your application is under review and you're in active correspondence with your reviewer, you could also contact your reviewer.
And if for those applicants who did apply before they were eligible to get a license and they paid their fee, if they have to apply again in licensee, do they have to pay again?
I would recommend paying again. We certainly will work to reconcile those items after the fact, but we wouldn't want to cause any delay in your application process.
Okay, I'm
And
scanning the
actually, in fact, in order, oh, I was just going to further say, in order to submit the application, payments required in the new system.
And I'm going to scan the questions again, Dan. There are a lot of comments sprinkled in with the questions, and I'm trying to look through for things that are just questions. And then some comments don't, they comment on their previous question, and I lose track of what they're referring to. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time, but if there's anything else that, based on the line of questionings that you want to speak to while I do that, you'll have a moment.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize that even as we do these sessions, you know, the batch upload feature is certainly one that we've heard from a few different people on, and we are going to continue the process of improving and updating this system as we go forward. So this feedback is very valuable. At the end of the day, you know, we had a system from, I believe it was about 1996, that was little more than a checklist application system that we used in the back office, and it really wasn't built for this century. And so this system empowers our applicants to really own their process and to move through it as quickly as possible. And that's what we were seeking to do here. One of the other great features, just some data points, is mobile friendly. Our existing technology was not mobile friendly to the extent it existed, and this new platform is 100% mobile ready. In fact, we're getting about 25% of our applications in through mobile devices, and the rest are desktop. But that just gives you sort of some idea of the gap we're bridging here, from going from a pre-smartphone era to now accepting applications via smartphone.
So Dan, this one is kind of technical. I don't know if you can answer it or not, but if someone applied in the old system and had an Act 10 or temporary license attached to that application, but discovered there was a clerical error with that application, do they need to get another temporary license with their new application number if they're reapplying in the new system? It says that they were instructed to reapply in the new system for their standard license, but will that confuse their temporary license?
No, it shouldn't. We're still under the federal health emergency. And so while we are under the federal health emergency, you're not required to have your Act 10 license and your permanent license connected. There are individual items. And so it shouldn't cause any confusion in terms of your new application.
Okay, there's been a couple questions about what happens when a third party is certain that they've uploaded a document and has communicated that to the applicant, but the system doesn't seem to display that. What should happen at that point?
Yeah, that would seem, as described, to be a technical bug, and we should look into that further. And so I would encourage you to either use the help tab or to reach out via the call center team. Since we have Sachin on the line, if you want to put your information in the chat, we can certainly work to get that logged in.
Yep.
I mean, to myself, if you do have technical things like that that are very specific, you can direct those to Sachin and he'll record those. We won't necessarily pose all of those or pose repetitive questions like that to this forum, but Sachin is listed as a co-host and you can direct specific technical bugs to him. Dan, there's been a couple of questions about timelines that are we giving estimates for how long it's going to take for us to start issuing licenses or issue individual license types? So do we know how long, if you apply for a nursing license, when are you going to get your license?
Yeah, definitely don't have enough data yet to really say with specificity what folks should expect. I can say that you know, we had licenses come in that were issued in as little as 2 days. But again, it's dependent on the speed with which the applicant gets the information to the department, as well as the third parties that the applicant needs to work with to submit information.
For experience and practice sections of applications, to what extent is that necessary, and how broad of how broadly are we thinking? Does someone have to provide every kind of experience, or is there certain relevant experience that we're looking for in those applications?
Yeah, that would be, I think, a more specific review question that I think we'd have to pose back to our staff, or depending on if it's more of a what if question. If I took it more as a what if question, we'd have to propose that to the board, as they're the folks who often or always make the determination on what type of information is necessary for an application.
Okay, and then are we still using the FSMB Universal app? I'm not sure what that is.
I'm vaguely familiar with it. I believe our applications are similar. So that's the Federal State Medical Board app. We have looked at moving in that direction, although our medical examining board has an application committee that specifically designs and evaluates application questions. So I don't believe we've been using that same form. Now, if you applied for a interstate medical licensure compact application, that's a separate process, in which case they own that process and then transmit that information directly to the department. And so in that case, you would be using their form.
What about applicants who do not have social security numbers?
I believe that in order to get a license, you do have to have work authorization in the United States by federal and state statute. And so you would need the relevant authorization number.
And then how does an applicant or a third party know what third party documents are going to be required for any particular license type?
It lays it out in the application process. It'll list out documents and who's required to submit them.
So again, that's information that the applicant will have to manage.
That's correct, and that information is going to be the same as it has been. We have not made changes to that information. I will say that we are evaluating things like graduation certificates as a potential item that maybe was a requirement that was put in place historically, when it took time to prepare transcripts between graduation and trying to enter the workforce. But ultimately those decisions about changing the required documentation will have to be made by the relevant boards.
Someone asked whether our agency is accepting volunteers for application reviewers.
It is a regulatory process, and so while I certainly appreciate the enthusiasm, we are, if you'd like to be paid, we are constantly hiring both limited term project and permanent staff, and I would certainly encourage you to apply for one of our staffing positions to aid in this process. That we welcome folks with enthusiasm.
And then we're getting a couple of questions that we addressed earlier, but I'm guessing some people were not present for the whole session. So if a college is trying to submit a statement of graduation, they need the application number from each student, and then they upload each document for each student, correct?
That's correct. And you know, while as particularly when I think of OLAS and our nursing certificates of graduation, I would suggest probably using the existing batch upload process in OLAS and uploading your full batch. You know, knowing well that some of those folks may have applied in the new system, and then as your students contact you, then uploading the individual applicant certificate in the new system.
What if somebody is relatively new to their position and they now have students in OLAS and in licensee, and they don't have access to OLAS? What do they do to support their students in both places?
I would say that you should reach out to the department, and I certainly think you can reach out through this forum, and we'll work to get you access to both. The position, the time frame in which you came into your position shouldn't impact that. We
And then once renewals do transition to licensee, how much of an applicant's or a license holder's existing information will transfer over, and how much will they have to re-enter?
So they will need to register for an account. So there may be some basic data points that they'll have to re-enter in terms of address, phone number, email. We view that as a good opportunity to sort of re-verify those items. Many applicants and license holders aren't aware of this, but required by statute, within 30 days of a change of address or phone number or email, you're required to upload that or update that with the department. So this is a good opportunity to do so. But then once you have a profile in the system, if you apply for a new license in the system, or an upgraded license, or an add-on, a specialty add-on, you will not have to re-enter that information. It will automatically carry through to your application.
Can third parties upload unofficial versions of documents? For example, transcripts often have fees attached for students to release those. So can institutions upload unofficial transcripts, or do they have to be the official transcripts, and do students have to pay those associated fees?
I would say that you should continue the process as it's been done in the past. So if it's been an official document, that you should continue to upload an official document. I will say on the transcript front, one of the utilize the National Clearinghouse as a tool for directly requesting and uploading transcripts, so that they don't have to request that there's universities or colleges do that work. But that being said, it should be, if official documentation has been what's been required in the past, they should continue to execute it the same way.
And can schools or programs get license-specific third-party documents that are required, so that in addition to the applicant knowing, the schools or employers also know what is expected of them for their applicants, to provide for their applicants?
I guess I'm not sure I fully understand the question.
So if I'm a school of nursing, and I know I have a bunch of students who are going to be applying, can somebody tell me exactly which documents I'm going to have to provide for each of those students, so that I can help my students get everything together and submit it?
I mean, certainly the documents that are required of the applicant are the same documents that have historically been required of the applicant. Those things have not changed. And so to the extent that you want to aid your student in collecting that documentation, you are welcome to do that. You can go on our website, and the required information for each profession is listed on each profession's webpage. And that would be another way to determine what information is necessary. Now, if you are wanting to collect that information on behalf of the applicant and submit it for the applicant, that would be, we would ask you not to do that. The third-party documentation is required by statute to come directly from the entity or individual that created that documentation. And so it would be incorrect to submit documentation you yourself had not had a role, or your institution had not had a role in creating.
Okay, Dan, we have just about 5 minutes left. And also attendees, we have about 5 minutes left. If there are any final questions, I realize I may not have caught them all because some of them were kind of embedded in longer messages. But if there are lingering questions that you have right now, we still have a few moments.
Well, while we're waiting, I can just take a minute to thank everybody for joining us today. You know, I think this has been a long time in coming, both for the state of Wisconsin and for the department. And you know, we're excited to be able to meet our applicants where they sort of are, whether that's on a mobile device in a park or at their home office. You know, we need to empower folks to do work, you know, wherever it makes sense for them. And that's one of the things that I hope folks take away, is just the flexibility that we want to provide to the folks we interact with every day.
Okay, Dan, we got a couple more. If an RN applicant fails the NCLEX, will that be indicated in the license lookup, or will they just not appear in the license lookup?
Well, so I will say the license lookup and the application lookup have historically been two separate items. In terms of the application lookup, that's still under construction. But what I will say is that if the applicant fails the NCLEX, they will absolutely know. And once we receive notice of that, it will be reflected in the system.
And do we have a timeline for when OLAS will no longer be available?
We continue to work on applications that came in using our old systems. And so once we have completed those applications, we will work to decommission OLAS. But for now, OLAS remains available.
Okay, let me see if Dan, what kind of support is available to institutions that are new to the system in addition to applicants? Can you describe a little bit of what's on our website and in resources?
Yeah, absolutely. We do have a licensee information page. And on that page, there are a number of videos as well as FAQs, walkthroughs. The video that you saw today is on the web page, as well as a video that specifically addresses the third-party upload process. And we continue to add to that page all the time. So as we sort of do our debriefs on sessions like today, we look at the questions and we update the FAQs and the walkthroughs with some of the stuff that we see is of higher interest to folks we're talking to.
Any closing thoughts? We're at 2:13, so we have just about 2 minutes before we'll wrap up.
Well, you know, we do have another one of these sessions coming up later this week, so certainly feel free to join again. But in the meanwhile, I know there's going to be information shared out after this session by email through the email you registered with. I assume that will include links to our licensee information page, as well as other resources that are available to both our third-party institutions as well as our license holders. But again, want to thank you all for your interest and just say how excited we are to sort of serve our applicants in a modern way. This is, like I said, I've been a long time coming for Wisconsinites, and we're very excited and thrilled.
And if people have questions after the session, is there a place that we want to direct those?
If it's specific to your application, definitely encourage the use of the help tab or the other the call center resources that I referenced earlier. If it's related to this session, Jen, I don't know, did we have an email specifically for this?
I've been giving mine, so I'll put mine in the chat.
Sound good. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us today, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their afternoon.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.